Oh, hi there. I'm Kat. Thank you for joining me for Chat with Kat. We're going on a journey and having conversations with people from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. And during this journey, we're going to probably laugh and smile. We'll have moments of compassion and cry. We may be angry or feel confronted, and we may be amazed and just need to ponder. So, whatever the emotion is that comes up, let's take a moment to breathe and ask ourselves why we're feeling this. And also, let's ask, what can I learn from this? So go ahead and like, share, subscribe to this, and make sure that your friends and family and colleagues and anyone you feel could get something from this gets to see this. So let's get on with our journey with Chat with Kat.
Okay, great. Well, hi, Kyle. It's so good to see you. I'm really happy you made it here today.
Me too.
We're in Self-Perfected together, right? So I know you from that, but a lot of people probably don't know who you are. So maybe just tell us a little bit about who you are.
Got you. So, Kyle Crockett from Houston. Kyle Crockett. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. We've been saying lately, a lot of people have been saying like their name and how old they are. So I'm just going with the trend. So Kyle Crockett, 36 years old, father, husband. The young folks say uncle. Just somebody who's really, even pre self-perfected technical tutor, was about expanding people's mind past the status quo and how do we create a world that's best for all. Like, was big on this. Never made sense to me how we have so many industries, so many people that are starving. We have all these sufficient things here, but however, we're not giving it to everyone in the world. That never made sense to me. So that's something I can honestly say that got me attracted to the group initially.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about this journey, because if you said you were looking for a way to like help people, how did you get here?
So, man, I took, if I was to say, I took a route where my vehicle initially was spirituality. So I would say it started for me to shift was like 2012, 2013. It was like one of those years. I think it was 13 because, no, 2012 because that's when the big shift was supposed to happen. And,
Okay.
but I got just to go a little bit before that. What happened, like what started me on that path is, let's say 2012, my sister died from a car accident. So my sister was like my second mom. So she was 4 years older than me. However, like a lot of valuable lessons I got from her. Like when I was a child, like 4 or 5 years old, my sister would sit down and teach me algebra and do math and she would show me how to read and teach me how to read. So me and my sister had a very tight relationship. And so I'm gonna say right after I went to Texas Southern University, which is a college here in Houston, historically black college. Like I finished my last finals for philosophy, and then her best friend gave me a call. It was like, Shanti is in an accident, and I didn't think too much of it, so I was like, yeah, okay, I got it. Call my mom. Like, here go my mom number. Like, call my mom and tell her. And throughout that day, things start progressively getting. Like, I started getting more information. So initially, it was like, okay, my sister's in an accident. And it's like my godmother's like, hey, we're gonna give you a plane ticket. I'm like, all right, cool. If I was to get in an accident, I would want my sister to get there. Then my aunt was like, hey, I don't think you know how severe this is. Now I'm like, what you mean? And I didn't even think about it. I didn't talk to my mom none that day. I didn't even put that together. And me and my mom had a relationship. We talk at least once or twice a day. From there, I got to Michigan, and one of the things was the very first thing. Once I got to the hospital, my sister grandma came to me and was like, "Oh, we were just waiting for you to get here to pull the plug."
Wow.
So that it's like my mind kind of shut off, and I was just going through emotions. And how I remembered it, like now, like actually using Techno Tutor and then having conversations, ask different questions. How I initially remembered it, I was the person who made the decision to pull the plug.
Wow.
And so, if people ever seen the movie 7 Pounds by Will Smith, like where in that movie, like he got to know these people, see how good and quality people that they are, and then at the end of the movie, he pretty much took his own life and donated 7 pounds worth of organs for different organs. Pretty much in essence, that happened to my sister. Like we donated all these organs, but the thing was, later we found out I was like against it, but they was pushing it. We later found out that was one of the most highest organ trafficking hospitals in Michigan. And so that actually would start me on the spiritual path, because I was like, I didn't understand why good people die. Like my sister never harmed nobody. I don't understand. And so at that time, my partner, she's a Native American, and so or indigenous, and so and also black. So she started teaching me a lot of her culture from the Native American tradition. And so I started to be able to, these abilities or gifts I always had, didn't know that I had, start to come online. And the first person I started to communicate was with my sister. That started to open up so much more, but it started me on a path of questioning and start looking beyond what is just this life and beyond just myself. Because honestly, I was a very selfish individual growing up. So that's what started the path. Because I say this last part. Some years over, I had created a group, and it's probably about 30 people in this group. But we had this book called like The Fifth Dimension. And in essence, the book was about how do we go from service to self to service to others. And we would have talks in this book weekly and had discussions of like, okay, how do we create a world where we're service to others? Which now I just say what is best for all. So that's what started me on the path of like, how do I end up eventually getting here to take my tutor and self-perfected.
Okay. Great. And how long have you been with the group? Because I mean, I lose track on how long people have been with the group, right? We see each other every week, so it seems like I know you forever, right? So
Right. I actually lost track, but it's somewhere around 4 years. So it's around 4 years for sure.
Okay, great. So, I mean, tell me, with their journey that you've been on, what's really changed in your life then?
Oh man, what have not? So definitely who I was beforehand, who I am now, completely different. Not even being cliche. I was just looking at pictures of myself before this group, like 2 days ago, and man, it was. Now looking at it, I'm like, that's scary. Like how like you can see my ribs. I'm skinny. I'm like bone. You can see my face structure. Like the bones of my face, like that. So one, gained weight. But if someone could say, yeah, you just eat more, but I actually had early stages of osteoporosis. So that's something I gained from this group. I had the technology and the tools to be able to cure my osteoporosis myself. Got married. Wouldn't have definitely been able to do this without the group. And like when I mean by get married, I didn't just get married to anybody. I got married to like the best partner, like my partner to shit. Like we cuss or we. I'm a key.
You can
PG.
say whatever you want on here.
My partner is the shit. Like I got the best wife ever, and definitely like I could have saw myself getting married, but it went south because I was the person that I was a relationship junkie. So I've been in enough relationships for a country. But I was always trying to, like, always had in my heart, like, I want a family, I want to be married, I want a home, I just want to figure this out. So to be more concise, marriage, start making more money, got healthier, start being able to effectively communicate more, start correcting my relationship with my mom, and then there's also supporting other people. I've helped support people who, just like myself, their life was going south. And I mean their life was going south when it was at rock bottom, when they considered doing this or even attempted committing suicide. And those were like some of the things that I've gained through it alone, like friends and community. One of the things before me and my wife and I was even married, when we was just friends way back when, we always said we wanted to travel the world and have friends everywhere where we can go places and don't have to stay at hotels. Like we can stay at our friend's house.
Nice. Nice. So with all the changes that happened in your life, how are people relating to you now? Because I'm sure there's people who see you differently, right? It affects their relationship. So how's that working?
So what I'm is noticing, like, oftentimes in relationships with people, especially when they have known you a long time, they still see you as this person over here when you're this person here. So, like, since I've been gaining the vocabulary and the skills to be a more to be an effective communicator, I have to set these words and understand. Like, I'll give an example. My mother and I, there was a time we had a debacle. Let's just say we had a debate. We were yelling at each other, and so she was referencing a person, and I just said, I don't give a fuck about their feelings. And she's like, don't be cursing at me and all this. And I'm like, hold on. And because I was using the tools, doing process, like working on my vocabulary, clearing out memories, I started to finally stand up for myself. And I was like, look, I said, we gotta keep honest here. I said, I live on a whole nother part of the country. I live across the world, across this country. I'm married. I got my own house. I got a child. I said, I've been on my own since I was 18. I said, look, you're not going to tell me or suppress me or tell me how to communicate. Now, what we can do is we can figure out what would be the best way to communicate with each other, and we can work that out. But you're not going to tell me how I'm going to talk. Because another thing is I didn't curse you out. So we going to have to work on that. But from that conversation, which was at first it looked ugly because we're yelling, and I realized, like, hold on, I did some self-awareness breathing. Like, okay, we're yelling. I'm like, okay. Now, when me and my mom have any type of debate or misunderstanding, either one of us would say, oh, there's a word that we don't have the same definition of, and then now we can go from there. And so even that, it changed my relationship with my mother, because my mom has been a supportive person, like helped me in time of need, put clothes on my back, food on the table. However, because I went through school, a lot of the abuse, the things that like really harmed me happened in school, and I never talked to her about it. Although my mom always said she had an open door policy, but
sorry,
like,
I have experiences with that term.
yeah, right. Oh, come talk to me. You can always talk to me. But then at times when I talk to you, you're yelling at me, or you coming at me sideways, or there's this friction. And so, although she said that, I never believed that. But I never communicated that, and that's because my culture grew up is don't talk back, don't talk back to adults. So people don't know that you're planting that seed back when they're a child. The seed just don't go away because you're an adult. Like, we gotta think about reality. You plant that seed as a child, it's going to germinate and it's going to mature, and now that whole seed becomes a full tree. And people don't know it's deep rooted, and they expecting this seed to go away when they don't even know that it's rooted deep 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet deep rooted into the earth, or into your programming, into yourself.
Mhm.
And it's causing all this chaos without you even knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you said that term, and I'm sorry I started laughing, but it just resonated so hard with me in that moment, because it's like you open door policy. I can't tell you the number of times people have said that to me, or in similar ways. Like, you can talk to me about anything, you know. Oh my God. And then, but the underlying was, you can talk to me about anything so long as I agree with what you want to talk to, and it follows my values.
That's it.
If
That's
it's
it.
anything against that, and then it's not an open door policy, right? Like, you know, so I just,
And that's not transparency at all. It's
no.
pseudo
And
transparency.
it's not transparency. It's not honest. I mean, if you actually don't mean, like, talk to me about anything, then don't say it. I'm that person. If you said it, I'm going to try. And then I'm going to find out the hard way that, oops, you didn't actually mean it. And
Right.
now from that, you're having a trust issue, right? Oh, I can't trust what people say, because when they say something, they don't actually mean it. Right. So, yeah, sorry,
That,
that's my whole own personal experience right there coming out. So,
there's so many people who have that that experience, and that's a phrase that is weeded through our culture, the American culture, actually probably the world, and where
yeah,
parents
because I
are
grew up
like,
in Canada, right? So there you go.
right, and it's like, hey, it's everything, you can come talk to me, but then when it comes to it, it's like, whoa, you can talk to me, but not like that, or I don't like these words that you're using. And parents and partners, or any type of relationship, partners, parents, friends, like, they don't see that causes the lack of trust. And with that, that oftentimes parents realize, like, why when their children go away, they never come back.
Right.
or,
Yeah.
or like, hey, I know with my mom, it shattered what she thought our relationship was. And these things I couldn't say to her when I was younger, I would say to my sister. But once my sister was like the bridge, so once the bridge fell apart, it's like, hey, we gotta find a way. You on this island, I'm on this island. You want to get over here? We have to build another bridge, and we both have to use these bricks to reach here. But I've been a person since a child. When it comes to relationships, if we're going to build a relationship, we got to destroy everything. Because everything that was in the past is not real. Let's destroy all this, and let's start this over. But in this destruction, it's going to be very vulnerable when we have to share or admit things that we might not like, or we might not feel that I should share this. It's like, no, we gotta lay it all on the line. The lives, the things that we might have not shared, the overts, and we gotta lay all that stuff on the line so we can actually start to build trust with each other and progress.
Wow, that is incredible. That, I mean, you were able to actually do that and have the communication with your mom like that, and be able to, figure that one out, because I know it's a really hard thing to really be clear about that with people you grew up with, right? And you're right, they see you in a certain way. Like, I have family members, obviously, they've either known me since I was a baby, or they've known me since, like, step family, since my dad and my, was remarried. But even then, I mean, even being at almost an adult at that point, they see you in a certain way, because that's how they met you, that's how they relate to you. And so it doesn't matter how many years later it is, they actually don't see the changes and differences. So
It's because they are looking at us like an image, like a picture, opposed to a movie. So a picture is stillness is there, it doesn't change. But a movie is still images, but it's motion capture, so it's movement, so it's progression, so it's change. So they're looking at us like images and not movies. But the thing is, that's because most people decide to be a picture. They want to be stuck in a picture frame, whether they're aware of it or not, opposed to creating a production and the progression and changing their life, and actually being a participant in a movie instead of just being stuck as a still frame. And so that's why.
Oh, that's some really great insights there. Because I'm sure a lot of people have gone through where they've changed as a person and are still being related to the same way by the people in their family or their friends or their community, right? So, wow. Okay. I think we need to hold on to that one. And go, how do we move the people from a picture to a movie now?
Moving from a picture to a movie, like awareness for sure.
Yeah.
I realized for myself, I've always been a person that's, like I said at the beginning, pushed the status quo forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew for myself, I was like, this is not it. And even when I was spirituality, I generalized spirituality because I've been a Buddhist, I've been a monk, I've been a Taoist, practiced Islam, I've been a 5%er, I've been a Christian, a Baptist, Confucius. I spent time over in Beijing, live in China, try to understand that. And then I did other things and then I was even a part of Scientology. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with this mind and what's going on in my life, because I'm reading all these books and they say thoughts become things and you change your thinking, you change your life. And I'm like, why the hell my life not changing? And I was an overthinker. I'm like, I'm in like thinking nothing's changing like the way that I want. And there was a moment where Shelby, my wife, just cursed me out. And she wasn't my wife at the time, but I was saying like, yeah, we are changing. She's like, change? We're not fucking changing. This is what you call a change. She's like, I'm living home with my mom. You know, and you working. She's like, you working at Pepsi at a warehouse talking to this bot. And I was like, damn, it hit me. And that hit hard because she never talked to me like that. Very few. At that time, we might have been friends 10, 12 years. Never was a yelling match. So never yelled, raised her voice. So when she did, it froze me. I was like, hold on. Because oftentimes, beyond popular belief, change starts from external first. And what I mean by that, in order to change, someone had to introduce to you some concept that was outside of your frame. And then you internalize that frame. So when she said, we haven't changed, I'm like, oh, there's a difference between modification, change, and transformation. Most of the time, people are stuck in modification. I was stuck in going from modification, change, modification, change. It's like, no, I need to transform. So to give an analogy, it's like the story of the caterpillar and the butterfly. And so it was like these two caterpillars, and they're like scooting together, they're just scooting on the ground. And one of the caterpillars saw a butterfly, looked up and was like, I want to be like that. And the other one's like, oh, why? Like, we have everything we need here. We have food, we got leaves, we got water. Why do we need to go up there? It's like the other one's like, the ground is hot. We can get attacked anytime. He was like, just go in the dirt, dig in the grass. Dig into the dirt. And so over time, the other butterflies it finally committed to it. And so it scooted up the tree. That's the caterpillar just scooting up the tree. And then it starts to wrap itself into this cocoon. And the thing is, what's so beautiful about nature, things don't attack the cocoon. They're like, all right, we're going to let it serenade within. And so then once it's in the cocoon, it has to pierce its way out. And the thing is, if someone or something tried to help it from outside, it would die. But as it open itself, get itself out of this self-created isolation shield, glass, was it concrete jungle or clear glass here? Glass ceiling, that's the word I was looking for. As they break out of this cocoon, the butterfly don't immediately fly. Because if it did, it would die because it would fall to the ground because the wing is still too heavy. The wings are wet. So it opens up and then let the wings dry, then they fly away. And then it's like this thing that people say is that hurricanes are created by butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all that to say, oh, in the last part of the story, the other caterpillars are birds who dominated.
Mm.
So I say that because we are both caterpillars, and when people don't commit to change, oftentimes their family, their friends, they get scared to go become the butterfly because they have that friend is like, why you want to change? And they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Family like, oh no, they see you in the same frame and they don't want you to change. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. And people are afraid of losing their friend group, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be that way, but when you change, everybody can't go. The caterpillar can't go where the butterfly is because they're not the same being anymore.
Right.
So first starts with awareness, and then you got to be willing to change. And to be straightforward is vocabulary, and integrated vocabulary, not just reading a dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, no, that was great. I'm just listening to that and going like, holy man, that was such a good analogy too. I mean, I think we've all heard the caterpillar and butterfly story, but when you put it like that, when it's like, oh, wow, that's actually so true, right? It is a whole transformation. It's not just a change, right? Like they actually transformed a whole new being out of it. And the time it takes, and that's the thing I think that most people don't realize is like it takes time, right? Like you got to go through process and do it and work through things, and it's not always easy, right? I mean, I'm sure being stuck in a cocoon as a caterpillar, knowing you're turning into a butterfly is not easy. Nobody's really asked them, right? They're in the cocoon. Nobody's asked them, said, hey, how's it going in there? You feeling good? Like, right. So at that point, actually, it's probably the most isolated you've ever felt in your life because no one can help you. Or if they do, like you said, you're going to die, right? You're not going to get your full transformation and change if people can help in a certain way, but they can't like literally pull you out, right? Like they can't, say, okay, you're in this bad place, so let me just drag you to the new good place, right? You got to kind of get there on your own. They can say, here's some tools to help you, but...
Like the word that you use, isolation, kind of go back into my story to bring that through. With the isolation, so I had took courses on words. Like before I became a part of Techno Tutor Self Perfected, I took 2 courses on what is the importance of words. And because words is the most primitive, most advanced technology that we have, that we overlook, that we use on our day-to-day and do not understand the importance or the brevity of them. And so they're in that, I bring up isolation because part of that isolation really is coming out of the mind. And I, through spirituality, mentalism, I was taught to use the mind, to go into the mind. And it's actually as backwards. Oftentimes, a lot of things in this world, what we are taught is actually inverted. So I was taught to go into the mind, go deep into the mind, use the mind. So there was a period in my time where I was a shaman. And so I was administering plant medicines for people. So whether that was Cambo, ayahuasca, Hape, like I was taking people ceremonies there. I would be paid, or there would be times where I take people to the woods, to the forest, and we out there for hours, and they are purging, getting these things out. But the thing that I noticed is about 6 months after, the person always revert back. And I'm like, how is it that we just did all this? You had all this awareness, you had all this newfound knowledge and understanding of yourself. However, you're doing the same thing, or it's equivalent to, oh, I'm not doing the same thing. You just put on a different shirt. You're still wearing the shirt. And so I I had to go into an isolation period because I was a part of a credit. I'd be reluctant to say I created this group because I don't take it that way, but they will always say like, no, you created the group, stop running from it. So I had a group called Tribe, and it was 22 people during COVID, and got people from different walks of life. So we created aquaponic systems, like I think it was like 100 plants on this specific system. We had nurses, we had doctors, we had doulas, we had military personnel, and we all started learning these different skills from each other. And the thing was, we're coming to find out was, we even got to a point where it was like, we need a constitution, where we were saying which was our principles. But the thing that we didn't understand is, at certain periods, people programs or minds start activating and then start doing things that's outside of whack. And so after that, I had to go into isolation because that's where it went. Also, to clear up saying the word isolation, right? If you stay in long periods of isolation, we're going to go from a state of isolation to a condition of isolation. Now, what that is, that's fear. Because we can never be isolated as humans.
Right.
However, yes, you might need to take your time to step back. When we stay in isolation for long periods of time, that's what creates depression. And that's where I went into a state of depression, because I'm like, all the stuff that I built or that I created, it's not what it is. I'm gonna just stay to myself because I feel hurt and I feel vulnerable. But then the isolation started creating a depression.
Right. And you're right. It is important to have a little bit of isolation at times, just to like kind of go through some things, work things out, do some process or things like that. But staying in it too long, and that's where you got to figure out like, okay, when is this becoming more like, I don't want to go out, I don't want to see people? When you get to that point, then you have to go and move and be around people, because now that is that danger point, right? Where it is that the depression. And I mean, we had a forced experiment put on us, especially in places like Canada, on isolation and depression, right? And look how well that turned out.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Whole generation of kids now are never going to be the same.
It's interesting how people say, like, back in the past, they would say post World War One, before World War One. Like, we have that in our own existence, post COVID, pre COVID.
Yeah.
Like, and so that event, created manufacturer event, was so pivotal that they were like, hey, we're gonna create this a timeline. Like, they had BC, before Christ, after Christ, pre-COVID, after COVID. Like, it's that serious that they have put it in the existence of how we calculate time. So it's a crazy thing.
And I found out, I mean, I used to think I'm a social person, but I also like my alone time, right? Like, when I've had enough of people, I need to just kind of go and recharge on my own. But I found like it was hard for me it was a really hard time, because now I was forced to be alone all the time, right? And being shunned upon, and not being invited to things because you're not like gonna just jump and do what they say. You're like, I got questions here, I need some answers. You're not giving me good enough answers for me to say, yeah, let's do this, right? So I mean, so for me, it was like, then there was that complete isolation from other people too, because it's now like, well, you're not doing this thing, so you cannot be a part of us now, right? Oh, you're uninvited to this event. Oh, you can join by Zoom. Oh, only people who are doing this are allowed in this circle. Like, that was, so when you go through that and you don't have a partner, you don't even have a pet anymore, because your pet had passed away prior to this happening. And during COVID, I even tried to adopt a pet. You could not, for the life of you, adopt a pet from any of the shelters. Everybody was in the same situation. They're like, I'm lonely, I'm isolated, and I need a companion. So they all went to the shelters to try to adopt a pet. So it's just like, even that. I mean, I'm fortunate I had friends who would like sneak me into their place and we would hang out, like, literally, I know, let's spend the night there and like have a good, spend the weekend kind of deal. And then like I'd go home, but it was like literally they're just like, yeah, come on over. Like it's fine. Like, but I mean, I'm so grateful for that group of friends at the time, but otherwise it was just like, you're on your own. Too bad.
And that's where the hires, there was a lot of domestic violence at the time, a lot of deaths, because people have to sit with their mind now, and they don't have all the escapisms, all the isms. It's like, no, you here. And so now people start finding out they live with somebody and they don't like them, whether this is roommate, your partner, and and that and what I kind of see that happening again somewhat in the near future, where people are going to be forced to have to sit with themselves, and some people just not gonna be able to manage it. Because I was a person that wasn't be able to manage it, and this also, and I'm gonna say this. So part of this is to educate people specifically about vapes. So during COVID, there was a period where I remember working for Pepsi and left my vape at home and was so agitated that, and I remember one time I was like, oh wow, it's been an hour and I've been so irritable that I don't have this thing. I said, oh, I'm addicted. I was like, oh, I have an addiction. And so still kept using it. And then one day I was like, I saw a video of like kids dying from their lungs collapsing from vaping. And I was like, all right, obviously it's something in this thing, because if anybody, like, let's say this is bad for you, but you continue to do it, that means somewhere within yourself, with your programming, somewhere you believe that this is benefiting you. And the benefit for you doing the action, or me, in this case, me vaping, was worth more than my health. And so once that happened, I just was like, let me find out what's in here. So I went to go buy me another one. And I took all the ingredients and I put it through TechnoTutor. And I started getting educated on, because if this is harming you and you continue to do it, it's just a lack of education.
Right.
So I started seeing there was insecticides in it. And then it also had these dyes. And I'm like, so what do these dyes do? And I'm like, oh, there's red dye, there's blue, and there's yellow. Oh, this is messing with my endocrine system. It's also messing with my hormones. So this is why I'm having this up and down. It's like, oh. But then when I saw the insecticide, I'm like, okay, so they found a tobacco product. So what does these things do? Then I started seeing like, oh, it kills bugs. I'm like, okay, that should have been a flag, but that still didn't. But then there was a time we went to the children's museum, and it said, it was a big S. And if you know the periodic table, S stands for sulfur. But it said under the sulfur, it said insecticides. So I said, oh, so the vape is smoking the vape is actually you putting sulfur in your lungs. That's equivalent to what they were doing in the gas chambers in Germany. So we are willingly now, due to our ignorance, vaping and causing and pretty much suffocating ourselves. And so immediately once I got the vocabulary of it, I literally that day went cold turkey. I was like, nope, it's not worth it, because now it's all from a lack of education. So that goes back to like earlier where I said vocabulary, or the lack of, well, we're always going to go two ways. We're either going to go towards crime, or we're going to go towards education. You're going to go towards life, or you're going to go towards death. In the case of health, ignorance will cause you death. Ignorance causes pain. And so getting the proper education, and education, not academia. School is really academics, and that's the study of theory. If you look up the etymology, but education is to come from within. So if these words or this technology or this word is not in you, you can't do the action.
Right.
So yeah, that's health tip for somebody watching this. You have teenagers and all that.
Yeah, just because they say it's safe, but it's not really. No. I mean, to be honest, it's probably safer to just have pure tobacco and smoke that than it would be to have a vape pen.
100% is. It's crazy. And I say that because even when it says smoking warning, in that I started doing research of, okay, why is it saying this? Start looking up the codes. And I was like, man, I'm pretty sure most people do not read that sign when you go to the store. You just see the smoking warning part. There's other stuff that talks about acts of California and things that are passed. People don't read that, but I only started reading that because I started using TechnoTutor more. Once you have more vocabulary, you become more curious. And once you start becoming more curious, you get interested to like, oh, I wonder why that works that way. Or why does somebody do that? And then curiosity helps create change, not stagnation. Well, stagnation good too, but curiosity for the most part induces change.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting when you have the understanding of words, how that changes your life. Because I learned a long time ago. I mean, I had an accidental journey into natural health, right? Like, and why I say that is because I was in grade 12. I was having horrific stomach pains, and sometimes if I took like a deep breath in, it felt like someone literally shoved a knife in under my ribs and like was twisting it, right? And so, I go to the doctor or doctors, and we do all the testing, and they're like, "No, you're perfectly healthy. Just go home and take an antacid." I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good solution to be doing that on a daily basis. So then something in my mind, like in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'll just live with the pain. And then I was at university a year later. I was sitting there talking with somebody between classes in the lounge area of our department. And she was talking and she's like, yeah, that sounds exactly like what I had. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. So what'd you do? She goes, well, I went to this doctor of traditional Chinese medicine. Now, he's a white guy. He's an architect by trade, but he decided he wanted to help people for real. And he looked at Western medicine and realized it was a Band-Aid approach. And goes like, it's like having a bullet wound and putting a Band-Aid on it and saying you'll be better. And he's like, no, I actually want to heal people. So he flew himself to China and studied Chinese medicine for 5 years. And then he came back and then he started, treating people. And she's like, he's great. He doesn't charge a lot of money because in Canada, usually, I mean, people think our healthcare is free, but you just pay horrendous amounts of taxes to get that free healthcare. So it's not free. But yeah, so if you want to complain about going to the doctors in the States, think about how much you pay in taxes, and then, okay, are you happy paying 50% or more? Because that's Canada for you. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it was a visitation fee. I think the visitation fee was like $10, right? Like he wasn't doing this for money. He made his money in architecture. So, and then he charged you for the herbs. And that was it. So my visit would turn out to be like $15-$20 to go see this guy. And,
That's worth
but
it.
it worked. And something in my mind went, okay, why? Like this is something that's been around for thousands of years, Chinese medicine. Why? And it's because they're looking at the root cause. What is causing this thing that you're experiencing? How do we go back and treat that and heal that, as opposed to just treating the symptom? And so that kind of led me on the journey of like, okay, I'm more open to the natural stuff now because obviously the Western's not working. And then I got into, hey, here's some natural skincare and health and wellness products, and here's why we use them, and gain real good education on this, right? What are the ingredients and things that people are there and don't even know? They're using it day to day. Their body wash or shampoo, their, things like that. And then I went on that deep dive of going, what's in my makeup, what's in my skincare, what's in my, like all that, and starting reading the ingredients. And once I understood what these ingredients were, I was like, hell no, I'm not using this stuff. So now it's like, okay, let me find everything as natural and pure as possible to be using. And then it progressed into cleaning my house. I was like, well, hey, wait, what are these things in my cleaning product? No, I don't want that either. So that became a progression of like now, like 20 some odd years later, right? Where people are like, you're an absolute freak, because I'm like, they'll ask me for a Tylenol. They're like, I have a headache. Do you have a Tylenol? I'm like, no, but I've got lavender oil, or I've got this, or blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, anybody else have a Tylenol? So I'm on the other spectrum now, but it's all because of starting to learn words and actually knowing what they mean.
A key point, like, what was the word I was about to use? Okay, I'll give an example for the word. I had my first experience where I was like, oh, words are very impactful, specifically using the tool Techno Twitter. The word was woman.
Mm.
And so when the word woman came up, what played, or the movie or the sound or the image that played in my mind, aka my memory, was stop crying or I'm gonna give you something to cry about.
Mm.
And I was like, and I heard it specifically in my mom's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I got a whooping after that. And I remember seeing myself like a 3-year-old. That's what came up, was like, you're 3. So I associated women with abuse. They're going to manipulate you.
Mm.
So I need to leave them before they leave me, or before they cause me pain. So that's my first memory of a woman. So then everything after that is like a chain link. Everything else is linked to that. So if the link is here, which is the first, but then someone start doing, let's say they do therapy. I did advanced therapy when they asked me one question for 36 hours. It helped. I felt better, but it only worked on this link. But it's links over here.
Right.
So although I cleared up the link here and all this stuff beyond it is gone, but then stuff get to build on from this point on. So I bring that up because we have the tools and the self-forgiveness. Using that, I was able to get rid of that polarity or improper definition of woman, because words have negative or positive charge. If let's take it back to science class, like we had because most people went through this part of school so they can remember this. It's like you got a proton, a neutron, and an electron. Let's just say we got an electron, which is negative, and then we got a proton, which is positive. Our words have charges on them. And if they are charged, whether it's positive or negative, you can be manipulated. And so with that, you want the word to be neutral. I'm not saying be a robot, but you want your words to be neutral. So what does that look like in real life? Why does that matter? Because my first memory of a woman was they're going to manipulate me, they're going to harm me, they're going to abuse me. I need to leave them before they leave me. That's why I couldn't stay in a relationship. And I remember I was like, my relationship's successful. But it's like, okay, are you married? Or do you have a committed partner? Like, no. And so, because that's what I wanted. I wanted marriage. So I'm like, if I'm being self-honest, that's actually not successful. So once I actually cleared that word up and got it neutral, and it has a proper definition, which is a mature adult, a mature female. After that, it's like, I'm exaggerating, but it's like magic. Like my wife, who was always there, we was friends for 10, 12 years. I started to see her as a partner. And the thing was, because I had that improper definition or that charge on that word woman, I'm only going to seek or find women that are that will manipulate me, abuse me, or harm me, or that will, or in their programming, they have the same programming point. I gotta leave them before they leave me. And so once I took that, got off, and I was like, oh, hold on, that's actually, if something was to happen to me, whether I got sick or like before I got married, I had a daughter. And like, if something was happening to me and to take care of my daughter, something, if her mom wasn't there, I need that type of partner. And who's going to help walk me through this process, through thick and thin, ugly, beautiful, all that. And that was just because of that word, woman, improperly defined. And once I cleared that up using these tools, that's how I was able to find my wife. But she was always there. But you don't have it's like, it's as if if it's charged, it's like this. Like, I'm doing this now and I'm trying to utilize and try to see. It's like, no, I'm taking off the charge gives you the actual proper lenses to be able to see life.
Yeah. Wow, that is actually really incredible. That just how the shift of learning a word actually changed how you can relate to even people now, specifically women, and having a relationship.
I got one for the guys. So if someone's into like fighting, this is like the impactful importance of words. So let's say there's this your first time you're going into a gym, and there's a professional fighter in the ring, and you have this coach, and he's like, go into there. You never fought before. It's like, all right, go in there. You get beat up, come back out. It's like, oh, I just got my ass kicked. So the trainer's like, oh, this is called a jab. All right, go back in there. Now you have the jab. And you in there, you get beat up again. Come back. It's like, oh yeah, so here's a jab, here's a hook and an uppercut. Go back in there, get beat up again. But you've done better, but you still get beat up. So then come back out. And you're like, man, I'm getting my ass kicked. And it's like, oh, look, this is, duck. You can weave, you can move. I'll give you the movement or the Philly shuffle. You get the movement for defense. You go back in there and you win. And so now that because every time you got a different word, you was able to do or perform different things in reality or do different actions. But this is how it's important of how one word, Johnson O'Connor said how a word is pretty much, one word itself is like its own technology. It changes the whole trajectory of how you see existence. Now, that's boxing. But if you add kick in front of that, it's a whole nother world. So boxing and kickboxing is not the same. Now you got different rules and different parameters. So that's just an example of how one word or words, because I look at it like everything that you're trying to learn has its own subset of vocabulary. So let's just use it in boxing. You got boxing, and you got jab, you got uppercut, you got hook, and all this other subcategory. And then boxing is the overall arching, but then you add kick in front of it. Now this is this whole nother dynamic where you have more vocabulary like kicking, shins, and all that. So I was just giving an example of how one word can shift everything.
Wow. That's, it's in one aspect, it's mind boggling, right? Like you're just like, the thought that everything that you thought you knew is probably wrong. I mean, there's a bit of confronting there too. You're like, oh man, like shit, now I got to go back and learn all this because I clearly don't know anything.
Facts.
Oh boy. Sorry. It's just that moment you're like, oh. Oh man.
Completely get it.
Yeah. And then you wonder why, like, nobody can communicate, why we're having wars right now, right? It's just like, oh, because we all have a bad definition of a word and nobody's actually taken the time to really learn it. Because just how you said, how learning that one word can shift the whole situation. And then you add another one to that, and then that shifts it again, right? So it's, yeah. Man,
Right,
our systems are not helping us at all with that aspect.
No. It's a system of division for sure. Because it's like, this is why like even slang is so dangerous. It's because another word, what is it? To reflect. Okay. So my wife, so context, Shelby has built international, like has a business where she had a team personally recruited over 150 people in network marketing, where it grew to over like 2,000 to 4,000 people internationally. And so she like built businesses. And so she would say it's like having an in-home coach, like really like a business coach. And so she's like, you need to reflect more. And I was like, I don't really reflect. She was like, no, you do. but you only reflect in certain categories. And so I was like, she's like, you really look into that. Like, you need to put that in Techno Tutor. So I put reflect in Techno Tutor, and what was so interesting, oh no, before I did that, she was like, what does reflect mean to you? I'm like, get out the way. She's like, what? I'm like, going somewhere. I'm like, people will be talking. I'm like, you would try to tell them, try to give them some constructive criticism, and then they like reflect it. And she was like, no, you need to put that in Techno Tutor. And so what I discovered is that my definition of reflect, how it was improperly programmed to me, is actually the definition of to deflect. So how I grew up, and it was slang. I'm like, man, you reflecting. But really what they meant was to say is you're deflecting. So because when reflecting was programmed as deflect within me, I wouldn't look back into my life and see where I need to correct things. Or when you're learning the skill, you need to reflect in that moment so it don't take so long to learn the skill. But it was defined as deflect. So anytime somebody give me a compliment or tell me how I've helped them with something, I'm like, I might say, yeah, cool, it's cool. But really, I'm like, deflect, move, get that out of here. I don't want to.
Right.
And so that's just what that word being improperly programmed inside my flesh or my body, not the mind.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that we have like this, when we're talking, like the memory muscle, right? Like your muscles remember how to do things and will do it automatically. Like how many times have we driven home and go, how the hell did I get home? Right? I don't remember the whole drive. And you've gone through so many street lights, and you've had like, you were responsive to everything around you, but you have zero cognizance of like getting there, It's like the muscle memory. So it's like if you're using that word over and over again in a wrong definition without awareness that you're using it wrong, you're just going to keep doing it. And then, and then you'll wonder like, well, why is this not working out?
Yep, and it becomes muscle memory. And like, I remember being in, you reading the personal development books, and everything is talking about think your thoughts, think change, incantations, affirmations, prayer, but it's like I still keep getting the same results. And the thing was, it's because look at it like I use the word programming often, but then I realized like most people might not understand computers, and so it's like think of it as I'm just gonna use volume. Let's say let's say it's marbles, and we have 100 marbles in this jar. And your jar is your programming, but your jar is your capacity. And based off your genetics, meaning your parents, the experiences of the parents, the trauma triggers and belief systems of the parents, of mom and dad, they create your jar. And their jar, they might have a jar. They might have this as a jar. They might have this as a jar. And how do we know based off reality what we're creating, how many people we're impacting, how much financial means that we're creating? And impacting people, that determines how big our jar is really. Right. But if these words are improperly programmed, let's say if you had 100 marbles in your capacity, every time the word is improperly programmed, it takes out a marble, and then it's not active within this jar. Over time, the jar shrinks. It's like oftentimes it talk in personal development books, it talks about the flea. And it's a jar, and the flea jumps out the jar initially, but then they put a lid. Then the fleas start doing this. They keep hitting the head, and over time, the fleas just stop jumping as high. Then they remove the lid. The fleas just jump here. They used to jump out. They just jump here, and then they have children. But then the children, initially, this is the highest they jump. They can't even jump. But once upon a time, they was able to jump out the jar. Right. And that's what that's when our program is improper. That's what happened. That's what happened to us as human beings. Like our parents go through these things, and then they have us, And then we go through these things and we're like the fleas. And then that's what they call generational curses. And they just pass on and pass on. And generational curses, people often say like, oh, cancer or diabetes run through my family. Like, no, we've been told a lie. Really, if I was to explain it in a simple way, it's this. Like, this is the importance of words. Like, letters, a group of letters become words. Then words so letters become words become sentences, and sentences become stories. And based off the stories that we tell ourselves will determine the sentence of our life. So if these words or these sentences, which are, oh, cancer run through our family, circulating through the genetics, or that's what you're going to get. I'm going to drink my water now. This is water, by the way.
Go for it. I mean, that's yeah, go for it, right? Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like, you know, when I was going back to like my learning about natural health and wellness and natural ingredients and things like that, you're right. When people are like, oh, diabetes or whatever runs in my family, actually the truth is, in your genetics, it's maybe 15 to 20% in your genetics of actually triggering that disease. So it's so low that what's actually triggering that disease, let's say diabetes, is that you're continuing on the same patterns that your family did. You're eating the same way, you're living the same lifestyle, and but you're associating, oh, but it runs in my family. Well, no. If we really want to look at the truth of that, that's only 15 to 20% runs in your family that it'll get triggered. What are you doing? Oh, you're still eating the same desserts every single day. You're still eating things that are full of like sugar and like white breads and things like this. You're still having, you know, you don't walk more than 2 blocks at a time or whatever it might be, like just as a lifestyle, right? But that's exactly what your parents did. And that's exactly what your grandparents did. You didn't do anything different. So even if you decided, oh, I'm just going to eat like lots of vegetables and eat healthy, and I'm going to, you know, unless you drastically change or transform that lifestyle, you're going to just replay the same thing. And that was a big eye opener for me too. And so every time people are like, oh, it runs in my family, I'm always like, nope.
And that's where like, I was searching, looking for so many different things. And well, it just was crazy that it came down to words. Like, it's all words. But I initially grew up Christian, so say the beginning was the word. And the words was God, and the word was with God.
Right.
This was what's crazy about that phrase, though. And this is where literacy matters. And literacy does not mean you know how to enunciate or pronounce a word. That is not literacy. That's enunciation and pronunciation. Literacy is like your ability to comprehend, then apply said action. So that phrasing in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. So I had experience, woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was scrolling through social media that day, and I heard someone say that, and I was like, I hear that all the time, but I never looked that up for myself. So I looked up that, you know, that part of scripture, but I was reading it. I was like, if I'm self-honest, I have doubt. I can assume I don't know what "and" means. And so I looked up the word "and" it means to, in conjunction with, to add on, to support. So I'm like, well, if it's in conjunction, to add, to support, that means it's not primary. So I'm like, it says the beginning was the word "and," so that means that's secondary. The word was God, and the word was with God. Both of those are not the most important thing if you understand the structure of language and syntax and synthesis. So I'm like, the most important thing is the beginning was the word. Then I'm like, what does word mean? Like, I didn't even know what that meant. And one of the definitions of word is a basic computer, a basic programming of a basic computer programming system. So, the basic component of a computer program. There we go. Which is 1 byte, which equals 8 bits. 8 bits is zeros and ones, and is 8 zeros and 1. 8 zeros and 1. Yes, in sequence. Why does that matter? Two things. I went to the iPhone store like the day before, and he was like, I'm like, hey, what's up with my photos? I'm like, what does bits mean? He was like, oh, that is how many photos is stored on your phone. So the more bits you have, they say the 64 gigabytes, the more bits and bytes you have, the more you can store images, and which gives function to your phone to allow this computer to operate. All right. So if our brain is just like a computer, it operates in bits. Okay, wait. Oh, okay. Well, in the Matrix, if you ever seen the movie, when Tank was coding Neo, the one, it is zeros and ones. So they gotta tell you the truth in some form or fashion. So if it's zeros and ones, the thing is, zeros and ones is how computers are coded. Humans are coded by letters, numbers, and punctuation. So if the beginning was the word, and the word means 8 bits, if you reverse engineer it, it's bits to go back to words. Words create your reality. The beginning was the word was God. So God is saying, hey, words create everything. But if you are literate, you can't process that. I couldn't process that until I started using these tools. So it's like that. Even in religious texts, it talks about the value of words. However, because most people are illiterate because we went through the education system or the miseducation system, we can't even process that information.
Wow. And it's amazing when you look at it and you go, well, there is some truth in what some of these texts were saying. We just never understood how to take that, right?
It's like here's a nugget of gold, but I just gave you 30 pounds of dirt.
Right. Now dig and find it.
Yeah.
But nobody ever told us that the gold was, we had to actually dig for it.
And you got to know what gold looks like.
You're right.
Because there's a thing called fool's gold called pyrite, which if you don't know the difference between gold and pyrite, you're looking for fool's gold.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm really curious with all the work you've done and learning actual words and like what they mean and how they actually change your life when you know it. Did you think you were literate before or illiterate before using TechnoTutor?
Before I was using TechnoTutor, I thought I was literate.
Okay. And like how, and like what kind of level would you have said you would be at?
I would have thought, when you say level, elaborate when you mean say level.
Well, like I guess reading level or you know.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
I thought I had a, like, to be exact, I can just say I thought I had a high IQ. Okay. And actually, it's funny. Like some people midlife crisis is like go get a motorcycle, or like my midlife crisis is I realized I was illiterate, and it was like 2 weeks. I just kept going in this loop. And Shelby, so story time. That's about another word. The word is expression, and this goes into this. And I tell these stories or these personal stories for people who are watching because of the showing how words impact our lives, and if they're not correctly programmed, it can cause so much havoc. So when I was in the 3rd grade, I got my first B grade. I was always an all A student. My citizenship he talkative. I didn't care. Grades always all A's. And I had got my first B, and it was in reading. And I remember being outside the classroom looking at it, and it was like, I got a B. And I remember crying, and the engineer, she walked by. She used to come in our classroom and help us. She was like, "What's wrong with you?" She's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I got a B," and I'm like shaking. And she was like, "Okay, like go tell her to change it." So I went in there, stormed in there. The teacher, it's me, because I'm little, so my head was big. So I'm like, change my grade. She's like, no. I'm like, you gonna get? I'm like, but you gave me a B, but you gave her an A, and she can't even read. Well, I mean, the girl, like, the it, uh, and then she would skip her. But I'm able to, pick me. I'm the kid raising the hand because I want to read. But what happened, it was a story called Tony's Bakery. And she kept telling me to read with expression. And then she was like, expression, like this. So I would do what they said. And then she's like, no, that's not it. And I remember getting upset, like, I am reading with expression, but you're saying I'm not. And I got mad. And that was right towards the end of, it was probably like a week before the report cards was due where she gave grades. So I got that B because I didn't read with expression. So that's very important because as I got older, I stopped being as expressive because my definition, what came, not even definition of expression. One, I didn't understand expression, so I was illiterate in that context. But what came with it, expression makes you dumb. I see in this system that you can't get ahead if you're honest. They're going to manipulate people. The winners are the people who actually are going through things or who can show authority that I'm a victim. So that's why I attach to expression. So that's how I use the word expression. So as I got older, I stopped being as expressive. Because when I made the vow to myself at that, once she didn't change my grade, I said, I'm only going to do enough to get by in life. I'm only going to do enough where my mom won't question, am I trying my best? Because I know I can get all A's, but I'm saying, fuck this system. Fuck the teacher. And so I didn't know that was going to penetrate. I thought that was just going to apply for a school. I didn't know that penetrated that my whole entire life, where when it came to, all right, now it's time to perform, I stopped. Because then I can say is, oh, you can't compare me to their standards because I didn't even try. Because, I didn't give my all, but it's really because I didn't want to express myself. So that itself, when I took the course on words, it was speaking about how some cultures have a high suicide rate. It's all because they have an improper definition of words.
Really?
And so it's that itself. And I was going somewhere with this because we was talking. I brought the story up. I don't recall. But I say all that to say, like, the importance of expression, the importance of words, how they impact and permeate throughout your whole life. The thing is, that's just one word. There's so many words that we use on a day-to-day that we don't even know what our program is about. What are our programs towards or definitions towards these words?
Yeah. And I think that's the trap, though, is that a lot of people think they're very well educated. They think they know a lot. They think they understand a lot. They're even even before I started, Techno Tutor, I was a voracious reader. I had vocabulary, or so I thought, right? Because because that would just be part of my regular speak, right? Voracious, that's not a big word for me. That was like, yeah, of course I'm a voracious reader. I know what that means. I read a lot, So I didn't think that so when it was actually presented to me, I was like, Avery, you do realize I'm a voracious reader. Like, I don't have a problem with words, right?
So why did you get it though?
because I finally let him do a demo with me, and after really, because when you do demo, you usually do it on a topic that the person has nothing related to. Like, so for me, it would have, like, he used the science, or not science, he used the medical,
Okay.
because he knew that I wasn't a doctor and I didn't have the training as that, right? But if
Right.
it was somebody else, they might use like computer science or something, right? Like they would use whatever subject might be completely opposite what they might know, right? And so it was just taking that and being able to see, like, under one, within a couple of minutes, being able to truly understand what that one word was, and being able to, where I had no concept of it before, or I heard it, but it wasn't something in my day-to-day world, right? And I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. And that was it. But I mean, I could not at the time comprehend how this was going to change my life, how this was going to change relationships, how this was, because it was so new too. It was just coming out, like it just came out. I mean, Avery and Cameron were together, right? And it was like the starting points of it, right? And he wanted me to see this thing for months before I finally, like, it might have even been a year or two later that I actually, like, okay, fine, Avery, give me a demo. But it was, I still at that time couldn't understand how this was going to transform anything in my life. I just thought, okay, maybe there's something to it, right? Let me try this out. So yeah. But I think if I had the understanding on the early on how powerful it could be to transform my life, I mean, things would have been so much different, because I would have used it properly. I mean, I would have gone and done the deep process work, right? Instead of just going and through and using it, I would have actually understood how to use the tools better.
Yeah, been through it. I do recall. Oh, you said, was I able? Oh, pretty much before this tool, I realized that, using this tool, my midlife crisis was I found out I was illiterate. And so one day I woke up like at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I can't go back to sleep. So I started listening to this audio of this Harvard graduate. And he was referencing how he went to Harvard, but he was from, I want to say, South Carolina. And the school that initially went from, if he didn't get pulled out that school and put into a different environment, he would have never made it. And he said he said the ACT scores of the original environment school he went to was like between 14 and 17. And I just remember like feeling some type of way. I was like, what does that matter? I was like, what? So I Googled, like, what are the actions? Oh no, he said an SAT score, and then he gave a number. And I was like, all right, what are the actions of someone who has this SAT score, and what would that show in their life? And and this wasn't even an AI, it just gave me 20 different things. I read 20 of them, and 17 of them I identified with. And I was like, so now I'm on the floor about to cry, like, damn, like, it says this person will be someone who always stop and start things. This is going to be a person who relationships, they have relationships, but they always fall because of some type of disagreement. This is a person who will get capped off. This is how much they probably will make money, how much money they're making in their life or at a job, and then they'll quit. So I'm like, all right, this feels like it's reading my life. So I was like, okay, I didn't take this SAT score. So I put in Google, I put that score that he said would have all these characteristics. And I said, what would be this SAT score? What is that equivalent in an ACT score? And it was the same as that ACT score I had in high school. And I said, damn. And I was like, and then it said, this person can pronunciate and enunciate and announce words, but does not mean that they are comprehended. They can comprehend. They are functioning illiterate. And that's when I realized I was a functional illiterate. And I brought up that because Shelby kept saying, when I brought up that third grade memory of all this stuff going back to that third grade, because I was 8, and that's when the natural learning ability is starting to solidify. She was like, you need to look at that memory, because I talk about, when she talked about herself when she was a kid, she was like, I laugh. I knew I was illiterate. But when you talk about yourself being illiterate, you get angry. And because in my family, you are considered smart. You got to be smart. You got to read. So I didn't think I was literate. So my midlife crisis was to seeing that actually I was a functional illiterate. And
Mm.
because of this tool, then it starts shifting the relationships where I talked about I'm married or I'm a, there's first off, me keeping a stable job was not my thing. But then being able to, I've made more money in a month, and there's been times where I make after using Techno Tutor, I made what I made in a month would be more than what I made in an entire year.
Mm.
And so my relationships have changed, my communication ability, my expressions, my health has changed because I'm not gonna go too deep, but in our distributorship, when the people who distribute Techno Tutor, it talks about how diseases form and how that's using words. And my dad died from liver cancer, and around the same age that he died, I started developing liver problems where I couldn't walk.
Oh, wow.
And using this tool, I found out what was the memory that was lodged in here. And doing the self-forgiveness where I went from literally, no exaggeration, crawling on my floor because I'm in so much pain to in 4 hours I'm able to walk.
Wow.
And that's because using these tools you can really change those the genetic curses or generational curses. You can actually go in because what they're telling us is inverted. And you can use these tools to actually change your life and stop these generational curses so you don't got to pass these on to your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. Being able to changing your own health that way in a matter of hours, right? Because you just sat down and did the work and like, let's figure this one out. But also that it is coming from generational, right? And I think that's like, it's in the world right now. I think you have some different thoughts where you hear of generational trauma or you hear of like generational curses is probably more what people are hearing. And their first thought might be, oh, this woo-woo stuff, right? Because they don't believe it. And how can that possibly be? But then you have other people who are like, no, there is something to this. But the reality is that because we're energy, we pass on through the generations, like it or not, right? The truth is we are all energy and it transforms into something new. And of course, it's just going to keep flowing. So, just for example, one of the things I found out is that a whole bunch of stuff that was really preventing me from doing things in my life and being, having the career, having the relationships, having all these things that I've been fighting for years and working really hard for, and it was eluding me. It was all tied back into I was adopted at birth. And what did that mean? Well, it meant that my mother was not married, and her family were Protestant Irish. And even though I know some of the history, I know my biological father wanted to get married. He wanted a family. He wanted to get married with her. And she said, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to have a family. I'm not ready to be married. But you have to understand too, what does it mean to be a Protestant Irish family back in Canada at a certain time? It would have had a lot of shame associated with being unmarried and having a child, and especially, right? So, and knowing, I don't know a whole lot about the family, but now I've got my adoption records. I don't believe they were a very high wealth family either. I think they struggled to get by. They worked hard and they struggled to get by. But what's been passed on to me? Struggle and work hard
Just to
and
get by.
shame and guilt. Right? That were never mine. I can't say that, hey, I chose these things, but these are things that were transformed into me because we're energy. You're in your mom's womb. Of course, what's in her body, in her system, in her emotions and her thoughts are going to get passed to you, whether you like it or not. So,
like it or not.
I think that's been very interesting discovery is actually, and for the people who are like, this is all woo-woo, go and look at actual science then. Go look at energy. Go look at Einstein and all this with that and relativity and energy and all that stuff, right? And then are you going to argue saying, well, none of that's true?
Read there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And curious if you was there any point in your life where you drunk a lot, like alcohol?
Yeah, actually, there was. I mean, I would say, and I was using Techno Tutor, but like I said, I wasn't going deep with it at that point. I would socially drink quite often, right? That was, I mean, that was normal. You go out for dinner, you're having a couple drinks with the girls, you're going out, you know, after a workshop, a business workshop, you're having a couple of glasses of wine or something. Like that was just normal, right? Family get-togethers. Oh God, like if you weren't drinking a few glasses of wine during the evening, like what was wrong with you, right? Like that was the thing. You get together for family get-togethers, and they're having wine, and they're having liqueurs, and they're having, like, it was just part of my life, was with that aspect of it, which I still, I mean, on occasion do drink. I'm not like I never do. I do. I especially enjoy a really nice glass of wine or something too, right? But for me now, the drinking is not about just to drink. It's about, there's more of a purpose to it, right? If I have a glass of something. Yeah, and then during COVID, I was drinking every night. Right? Because I was alone. I'm isolated from people, and I'm you know, on top of all that, the in and out of work because of COVID, right? Because you had a job, then you lose a job, then you're looking for another job, and then so what are you doing with your time when you're like stuck in your apartment? Well, you can only work out so much before you're like, okay, now what? I'm gonna go put on a movie, or I'm gonna go binge on some show on Netflix, and then I'm gonna sit there and have a couple drinks. Right?
The reason why I asked is because I've been doing, for lack of better words, research on, I've noticed this correlation with drinking. And this is due because I started doing my own process. So, story time, guys. This is on health for how I actually, like, with my liver. And this is all connected. This is why I asked this question. So, there was a day where I'm fine one day, the next day, I can't walk. And so, it's like I can't work. I'm not functional, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? So one of my friends who was going to school to be a physician or doctor, she was like, hey, go to this clinic in a Hispanic neighborhood because they charge less even without insurance. Like your copay with insurance would be less there. So I was like, okay. So like you need to get this test. So I went to go get the test, and they was like, your liver lipids are really high. And I immediately like, oh, I know what this is. So P.S. I am not saying do what I did, but I already knew when they said it was my liver, I already knew what was the issue. I'm like, oh, this is about my dad. Because my dad died of liver cancer. So, and we use something called German New Medicine. In German New Medicine, so my dad had liver cancer. All cancers is suppression of anger and grief. I'm gonna come back to liver. And this is also, I'm going into genetics and how they impact, and also how you pick your partner, because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So my mom, so my mother, her mother, so my grandmother, she had to take care of all her sisters and then her sister's children. So she was taking care of 6+ people. So because she had to do that, she wasn't able to be emotionally available for my mom. So that's neglect. My mom's dad wasn't around. So that's abandonment. All right, now we'll go on my dad's side of the family. My dad's mother had a baby. This was 50s, 60s. So she had a baby with her best friend's husband. And it was like, I'm keeping the baby. And she was like, well, I told you don't keep the baby. I'm not going to be with you. So dad my dad's father, he's not gonna be in his life. That's abandonment. Mom was like, you know what? My dad's mom was like, hey, you look just like your daddy. She had 6 kids, but he was like, she always treated them different. It's neglect. So dad had abandonment and neglect. Mom had abandonment and neglect. That's in your genetics. So when you find partners, you're not what you want, who you are. So now they had a baby and they passed it down. Guess what? They had me. So why do I bring this up? Because any issue with liver is abandonment of parent. So liver cancer is a suppression of anger and grief from the abandonment of a parent. I've noticed that people, since I figured this out, I asked people who drink, who have experienced like periods of alcoholism, is because there's grief or there's abandonment of the parent, whether that's the physical abandonment or it's neglect and emotional abandonment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
because you're trying to fill a void. Yeah.
100%.
And Chinese medicine is a lot the same way, where it's looking at what is the root cause, but it's not just, is it a physical thing? It's looking at the root cause as from the whole aspect of a being, right? So that's why, I mean, that when I fell into Chinese medicine, it was kind of a blessing, because they're not just looking like, what's the symptom here, right? They're going, what is causing this thing to happen in your body? Where does it start from? And every part in your body is connected to different emotions in your with the Chinese medicine, right? So everything in your, so if you're having like, you know, people who have gallstones, that's going to be connected to a whole other set of emotions, right? And if it's not, I mean, yes, diet may come into play a bit, but if you're not going to deal with the rest of it, it really won't matter, right? So it's it's having that balance. You got to know where that emotion is to also heal from it, because if all you're doing is the physical, you can only get so far.
But
you need the physical to help support the emotional sometimes too.
Like you said, being energy, emotion is just energy and emotion, so it's just trapped. So 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're like, let's say you're like, I'm 30 pounds overweight and I got to lose some weight because I'm going to die of a heart attack or whatever. And you're like, I'm just going to tackle the emotional side. Why am I having, like, what is it that's really tied to the heart? Or what is it that's really, you know, triggering that this would cause me to be overweight? If all you're dealing with the emotional side and you're not actually adding the physical side into it too, like actually getting some exercise, actually eating like real whole healthy foods, you know, like then it's not going to do as much good. You might die still before you get there, because you know, the emotional side takes some time to deal through.
Facts. And if you, like you said, if you just do the physical side, don't work on the emotional side, you also might just die.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's not to say, like, with a lot of people with natural healing and health, when they're really paying attention to it, there's a lot of things they have healed without dealing with emotions. But I think subconsciously, emotional side has been dealt with because they've gone through something, going, okay, on this physical thing, oh, I realize I have to do this. Like, let's say I have to do a liver cleanse because I've never done one in my life. And what does my liver do? And oh, it's holding all this junk in it that I've been absorbing all my life, right? All the chemicals and all the food and all the stuff. And it's stuck in this liver because I've never allowed it to do its job and treat it well. Okay, let me do a liver cleanse. Okay, so we clean out the liver so things can start moving and your liver works again. And that's great. You got to do it. But if you don't understand, so why you do that, you may subconsciously have released or healed something emotionally tied to the liver because of what you went through was actually more of a traumatic experience in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the hard part for a lot of people to understand. So it's like they're this side or the, you know, they're one side or the other side. They're like, oh, it's physical or it's mental or emotional.
That's where when I got into spirituality, it was all mental and emotional. So in essence, psychological. Right. But I wasn't tackling that. But if you don't work on the physical, Like they're all they coexist. They all it's interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, some people like they say they did work on the physical. Like you said in the background, they actually could have been working on the emotion and the mental. So
Yeah.
yeah, some people, because I was one of those people, like, no, it's not this. Like, we're gonna ignore the physical. I'm ignoring all the physical. I don't care. And it's like, but you got a whole body, and you talking about no, it's all this an illusion. It's like, nah, brother, this is actually a real thing. Like life itself is actually real. The stuff that you're going on in your head that you're not sharing with people actually is the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading a blog and the word Mayan came up because I used to read like, oh, the Mayans disappeared. Like they just left this earth. And it was like, I just had the cognition like Mayan, like, because the Mayans would say this earth is Maya, it's an illusion. And I'm like, oh, what's an illusion? Is the Mayan, the mind, I'm in is the illusion. And I was like, oh, deep. So I just say, definitely been a person who was, you need to be this or you need to be this. It's like, how about let's just have a whole lifestyle approach. Let's just do a whole approach.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I've come from. It's like, it's the whole life, whole healing approach, right? It's not, I don't want to just be partially healed. I want a whole healing here. So, and I want that for everybody too. Like, I don't want you just to be partially healed and like, here, like, let me tap you on the head, put a Band-Aid on you and then walk away. Right. Like, I want you to like, okay, if I could help somebody where I can guide them on something with whole healing and then they walk away and they never talk to me again because they've been completely healed, that would be amazing.
Yeah. That's a great testimony. I'm like, yeah, my clients don't come back to me because they help them heal themselves.
That's right. Yeah. Like the way healthcare should actually be, right? Let me give you the tools so you can actually be healthy, heal yourself, and then, maybe you come back to me for something else, but you're not reliant on me all the time because my livelihood doesn't rely on you being sick.
That would be the best for all healthcare, for sure.
Interesting. I knew a naturopath who years ago, she was having a hard time, keeping consistent clients and with her business. And so she just thought, she went through some spiritual retreat or something and she came back from it and she thought, you know what, I'm going to try an experiment here and see what happens. And so what she ended up doing was she's like, I'm no longer charging a visitation fee. You're going to have to pay for whatever remedies, you're going to pay the cost of whatever the remedies are. That's just it. Cause you got to cover them, right? Whether you buy them from me or you buy them from whatever store I direct you to or supplier or whoever, but the way I'm going to operate now is by donation. So if you feel I'm giving you value, then you can donate money to my services. She ended up doing way better when she started that approach, her business took off. She made so much money and had so many consistent clients. Like she was actually getting to a point where she goes, I think I might have to stop. Like, cause she was doing this was before we were doing anything with Zoom, right? She was doing telehealth with people across the country and stuff too. And she would like literally ship them the remedies and stuff. Right. And so she was actually getting to the point where she's like, I've got so many people now and they're all consistent. Like they're paying me more than when I had set my service rate, which was quite high. She's like, she goes, if only I had thought of this sooner. Because her value actually was now being able to come through and people were appreciating the value instead of like, here's a service fee, right?
Yeah. And I think people naturally would like to do that if they have the means to do so.
Yeah.
I don't think people genuinely like want to shortchange people, want to harm people innately. I think people genuinely were like, if we had this means to do so, I actually would want to give this person more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was a really interesting experiment she did because it was literally at her wit's end. She goes, if I don't do something now and make this work, like I might have to go back and get like a different job that I hate, but I love helping people. So Yeah, so interesting. So I know, I mean, we're probably going to be able to talk all day. I mean, I know when we get together at events, we're talking for hours. We stay up till the wee hours in the morning, go get a couple hours of sleep, and then come back and go for more. So,
That's true.
so I know you probably have like your family you want to spend some time with too, and today. So I'm asking everybody this, Kyle. If you were to go back to your 10-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
I was to go back to my 10-year-old self. What advice would I give? More. It's okay to read more. It's okay to be smart. And ask more. Read more. Ask more questions, and it's okay to be smart. And don't be afraid to be a leader and stand out and be different. I used to be so afraid of that around that age. I used to tell people I am not your leader.
Wow. I think that is a gold. Everyone should take on to that now and more use that in their life.
This is if you all would like to look it up, you can look it up. It's actually, how do I say this? This is ignorant education. But there's this song by this guy named Little John, and it's called Read a Book. And it is about reading a book, but they put it in a rap song. So that's why I say it's ignorant. But it's about, I remember it was like, in 2007, it was created an uproar in America because, like, can you believe this? But it was saying, like, read a book. The song is about read a book and taking more responsibility. But it just sounds crazy. So read a book. I say that to say, read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. That's the lyrics of the song.
Nice. Awesome. Oh man. I thank you for sharing that. And I like I said, everyone go back and hold on to that more. Read a book.
Read a book.
All right. And is there anything else you want to share or any, with us right now?
Oftentimes people say they want to change, they want to transform, they get to the door and they turn around. And it's because of how they see themselves, their self-worth and their value. It don't hurt to walk through the door. Actually, it might hurt to walk through the door. But when you were a kid, you didn't think nothing of it, but growing pains hurt. And that's okay. We just got in a world where we think that everything's supposed to feel good. And growth oftentimes don't feel good. Doing the actual work, like the butterfly in the cocoon, it don't feel good. Sometimes it's hot as hell. It's hot in a cocoon. But you gotta be willing to go through the work. And the last part I would say is, are you really changing, or are you just getting better at deceiving yourself? Reach out to the group, self-perfected, baby. That's what I got.
Wow. Wow, that is deep. That was really deep. Yeah. I'm taking that one in. Are you changing or are you deceiving yourself? Yeah. Yes. Wow. Okay. Well, I truly appreciate you taking time here, Kyle. I know there's a lot of, oh, you're welcome. I know there's a lot of great stuff in here we talked about. I know I'm going to enjoy going back and listening to this again and getting new nuggets out of it because I always do. So I really encourage everybody to go back and listen to this a few times and really catch what's being said and investigate some more. But yeah, I appreciate you. So thank you for doing this, Kyle. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for hosting this. Thank you for having me. Thank you for actually doing what you said you were going to do in creating this so that these stories can be put out in this world. So there's all this, it wouldn't have been able to happen if you didn't have the courage and the choose to be brave to do so. So thank you.
My pleasure. Well, I'll talk to you soon and we'll see you at Self Perfected. Okay.
All right. Peace.
All right. See ya.